In the long history of our country called Kenya, never before, never ever, has a sitting president had to remind us that he is the president and commander-in-chief of all our armed forces. That has never happened before. That is until yesterday, when William Ruto reminded us of the same. Of course, cynical people will say, this is same old, because this administration has made a mark in terms of achieving many firsts, things happening that have never happened before, like the long delay of payment of salaries to civil servants. But to be fair, this administration can also now take credit of the very first head of our armed forces, chief of the armed forces, chief of the defense forces, from Luo Nyanza, with the appointment of General Ogola. Although other people may argue, there are not many options, because in the army, hierarchy rules, okay? But then still they can take credit for that. Let's give it to them. And it would have been nice if this administration recorded a number of other positive firsts. However, we all know a vast majority of the unprecedented achievements of this government have been negative. They are not achievements at all. Anyway, on the eve of the resumption of the Maandamano protest demonstrations by Kenyans for a better Kenya, a few things are happening that I want to draw your attention to. Okay? Now, let us first of all agree that both sides are not really telling us what they're going to do. Okay? What they're doing is issuing public statements. Some of them are issuing threats. Yeah. But the real thing they're going to do during the Maandamano tomorrow remains hidden. Yeah, because in case you didn't know, this is a battle of wits. And when you're in any battle, you don't want the opposing side to know what you're going to do. The element of surprise is important. So let's get that right. And so let us start by understanding that what we hear them saying, whatever it is not what they're going to do. It will not be very easy for us to read what will happen tomorrow by just listening to what both sides are saying. Indeed, what they are not saying is much more critical, much more important than what they are saying. Which I guess is the same in any other situation in this life. When you're having a discussion with somebody, a quarrel or a misunderstanding, what they're not saying is what is really important. Okay? Anyway, let us start with a statement issued by a man called Adamson Bungei, who is the regional police commander for Nairobi County. And I have to start by asking, why is it that every important government official, every UDA politician, all of them talk the same, all of them think the same, precisely the same? In other words, all of them are robots. Because you see, as human beings, we have our own way of expressing ourselves. If I want to say something, I will say the same thing as you, but I'll not say it in the way you're saying it. The way you present it will be different, maybe even more eloquent than mine, but your own words, your own way of expressing yourself. But in recent times, we have seen in Kenya the emergence of robots. Well, there's only one explanation for that. And let me take you quickly back in history so that we understand. Legendary politician and founding father of the nation called Kenya, a man called Tom Mboya, had his own people, pointmen, countrywide, just like Ruto has. And in Ukambani, Mboya's pointman was a man called William Mbolu Malu. Honorable Malu was the legislator for Kilungu constituency in those days, an illiterate man. He had never been to school even one day. But he was a Mboya point man. And so before every meeting, Bwana Malu would get a briefing from Mboya, many times over the phone, over what to tell the people. And those who are keen observers then would notice, this man is talking exactly how Mboya would talk. And why should that be surprising? The man has been briefed by Mboya himself on what to say. In one particular political meeting, that my late political lecturer followed, Malu was seeking to defend himself against complaints by constituents who were saying because Malu was illiterate, it was pulling back the development of Ukambani. The man had never been to school. So how does he read a development project proposal? According to my late political lecturer, shortly before that meeting, Malu had called Mboya almost in tears, almost giving up. But then after that telephone conversation, Bwana Mbolu Malu was energized, and he told the people, where were the educated people when we were fighting for Uhuru, for independence? Where were the educated people when we were being jailed, harassed, intimidated by the evil colonial government? A very strong argument, but just the kind of thing Mboya would say. Bottom line, Mbolu Malu was a Mboya robot. Now if you have the time, I would request you to look very carefully, read very carefully, the statement issued by the Nairobi Regional Police Boss, Bwana Adamson Bungei, in banning the demonstrations, the Maandamano, scheduled for tomorrow, 2nd May 2023. And you tell me what you think. Compare what he says to the speeches by President Ruto, and then tell me what you think. In my opinion, it is bad enough for a politician to be anybody's robot. It's really bad enough. But when you have a regional police boss being somebody's robot, then you know, as a country, a constitutional democracy, you are in big, big trouble. Because you see, the style of UDA is to take the facts, twist them, and introduce lies. That is the style of UDA. I challenge you to check all their speeches, all the utterances. It is the same strategy, same plan, same algorithm, if you want to call it that. Rigathi Gachagua took the facts that actually there was an agreement by both sides of the political divide to sit down and talk. That's a fact. And then he twisted it and told us that Azimio came to him begging for an exit strategy from the Maandamano. And of course, already we can see that is a lie, because Azimio are moving ahead with their Maandamano. They're not showing any signs of being tired. They're not showing any signs of looking for an exit strategy from Maandamano. And this style was very evident in Bwana Bungei's statement, because Bwana Bungei told us that the reason why the police are banning the Maandamano, which is not constitutional by the way, there is nowhere in our laws where it says the police are allowed to assess an upcoming rally, an upcoming protest, and declare it illegal. There's nothing like that anywhere in our laws. However, Bwana Bungei tells us that the reason is that the demonstrators are carrying crude weapons like machetes. And what is happening is that during the demonstration, these so-called protesters are attacking people not involved in the demonstrations, attacking and looting businesses. Now, everybody in Kenya knows that that is pure fiction. It doesn't happen like that. Indeed, there have been efforts by the other side of the political divide to turn the demonstrations into being violent ones, even to turn rallies violent. Yeah, they come into the rallies disguised as being part of the people attending the rally, and many times they're armed and they try and cause chaos. But usually, Azimio people quickly take care of this threat. And so what Bwana is telling us is lies. Pure lies. Tena mchana. Now, the reason why the country called Kenya is in trouble is precisely because of this. We have a government which tells the people lies. And therefore we have a government we cannot trust. So when that same government says they're going to form a commission of inquiry to look into the Shaka Hola Manenos and to get to the bottom of it, Kenyans cannot trust this government to get to the bottom of it. What good reason do we have to trust the government? Please tell me. When we have plenty of evidence to show that this government is not truthful. Now, granted, all politicians are liars. Politicians lie frequently. However, there is a very big difference between being a politician and being in government. People are looking up to you for direction. People must trust you as a government for you to govern. Yeah, I hope that is not breaking news to you, dear, but I suspect it is. You cannot govern if people don't trust you. Never ever. Not in any country in the world. And it doesn't matter whether it's a democracy, a dictatorship, a military government. You can't. You won't last. If people don't trust you, kwisha maneno. It's just a matter of time. You could hang on to power for a few years, but it is just a matter of time. People need to have at least a little trust in you for things to move and keep moving. I think the problem here is that these tactics of lies, taking the facts and twisting them and telling us lies, were very effective when UDA were not in government. But something happened, something went wrong, that when they went into government, they forgot to switch off the lies, or at the very least tone down on them. They've just continued as usual, the way they were in the opposition. And this is going to be catastrophic. I don't think there's any other word to describe this. Now, in the statements released by Azimio about the Maandamano on the 2nd of May 2023, Martha Karua said, Ruto awache makasiriko. He should not lose his cool when Kenyans are asking for their rights. And of course, as he loses his cool, he is reminding us that he is the commander-in-chief of all the armed forces in Kenya. And he can take action against Azimio using his instruments of power. Now, let me just remind you, it is a very bad sign when somebody has to remind you of who they are. Okay? If somebody has to remind you, hey, I'm your mother. Or, hey, have you forgotten? I'm your father. It is normally a very, very bad sign. Because the implication is that you have behaved in such a manner, or your child has misbehaved in such a manner, that you have not come out as a mother or a father. And in many instances, the problem is not the child. The problem is the parent. As a parent, when you need to remind your children, you have failed as a parent. And I dare say the same in the case of a leader who has to remind other people that that person is their leader. Very bad sign. Anyway, Azimio have told us that they're going to present 4 petitions during tomorrow's Maandamano. The first petition is going to be at the office of the president. And the petition will be about the high cost of living, which Kenyans are finding unbearable. Okay? And the second point in this petition to the OP will be this habit of the government of raiding opposition parties. Raila calls it auctioning MPs away from the opposition to government, which completely rubbishes, corrupts the democracy of any country. The second petition will be to the IEBC, the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission. And the petition will be proof that the election results from last August were doctored and they were not the real results. And that the only way of sorting this out, coming to a conclusion, is to open the servers. The third petition will be to the National Treasury, complaining about the delay of funds to counties, which is killing devolution, because this government has other priorities, like of appointing people to offices with big salaries, buying them big cars, giving them house grants, etc., etc. So that petition will be to complain about the lack of funds going to the counties and demanding that these funds to counties be released immediately and thereafter be released regularly to keep the counties going, rather than to kill devolution by starving them of funds. The second point to the National Treasury will be for them to cease and to desist from delaying civil servants' salary, paying them on time. And the fourth petition will be to the Public Service Commission, complaining about the current trend of appointing people only from one tribe. Kenya has close to 50 tribes according to Azimio, but only one tribe gets all the appointments, which of course is very unfair, apart from being very unconstitutional. Now, Azimio have mentioned something else that most people seem to have missed. According to Raila Odinga, so many things are going wrong in this country, and the government is to blame for a lot of those things that are going wrong. And he gives the example of the rise in cults in the country, which have the full protection and patronage of State House. Of course, he's referring to the Shakahola Manenos and the Pastor Ezekiel saga. This is just Raila repeating himself, because he has already told us this in the rally he had in Kibra when he jetted back into the country. And this is a very, very serious allegation that Raila is pointing to the government. Any responsible government that is guiltless would be quick to respond to that allegation by Raila, challenge it, address it, and tell Kenyans the truth. However, how has the government responded? The government has responded by not responding to that very serious allegation. The government has responded by shutting down the Shakahola site from journalists who were the first to blow the whistle, who were the first to unearth this filthy scandal. It's more than a scandal because their lives involved. Many have lost their loved ones. Others remain missing, who belong to this cult led by Pastor Mackenzie. Now, regulars on this channel will know that I pick my words very carefully. And I have to confess, earlier I was alarmed when the Western media started using the word cult very quickly as the Shakahola incident was unfolding. They also used it pretty quickly on Pastor Ezekiel, and I was alarmed. I thought that was wrong. However, with the facts that I've gathered now and what I've observed, I'm now joining them in using the word cult. And the evidence is so obvious. It is there for all to see. Let me give you one glaring example. Pastor Ezekiel's church owns businesses, including at least one petrol station. When you go to Mavueni, where the headquarters of the church is, you will be shocked. Tarmac roads, a city, within a city within Mombasa County. And the very obvious question to ask is, where did all that money come from? And don't believe for a second that this is money from congregants. It isn't. And a church running a business like a petrol station amongst the other businesses is very, very questionable. A church running a morgue business is very, very questionable. Now, if you still can't see, let me assist you. And you can confirm this by approaching a friend who is an expert in finances and accounting, and ask them the simple question. When you see an organization with many, many businesses, many of which look like they're just breaking even, but expansion is continuing endlessly, that is a sign for what? And I'll tell you, they will tell you, that is a typical sign of money laundering. Kusafisha pesa chafu. You see, in the world where we live in, if you have a source of income that is not legal, but bringing in a lot of money very frequently, like corruption, like drugs, etc., etc., you will need to clean your money. How do you clean your money? By masking the real source of your money. Yes. And making it look like it is coming through various businesses which are operating. Like a supermarket, a petrol station, a morgue, etc., etc. It is easy for you to put in the funds through there so that it looks like your sources of financing are genuine. And if you have a money laundering operation for your own operations, you can also assist others to do the same. It is okay to trust somebody with all your heart, although the Holy Bible tells us the person who puts their trust in a man is cursed. In other words, if you want to live in this world comfortably, never trust another man. Be kind to people, be generous, but never get to that point where you trust a man so that when something happens, you quickly defend them without the facts. Trust only in Almighty God. And we have seen this time and again in history. What has happened to people who blindly trust others while keeping their eyes firmly shut to what is too obvious if they just open their eyes even a little. Bottom line, this Shakahola and Pastor Ezekiel Manenos is huge, colossal, and it stinks to the high heavens. Oh yes, that's really what it is. Just open your eyes. Reason. Listen to what investigators are saying, but also use your own eyes. Use your own capabilities of analyzing a situation and coming to a conclusion. And when you do, you will quickly realize that what Raila Odinga is telling us may not be hot air. Because, for instance, it would neatly explain, neatly answer a lot of burning questions that at the moment for most Kenyans, there is no answer. Like how somebody would get up to all this evil and nobody has an inkling of what's happening. In a county where the police is on red alert because of the terrorism manenos. It would neatly explain why somebody can be arrested for so many different offenses and charges and they get away scot-free every time they're released. It would neatly explain that. It would also explain the utterances of Mackenzie's mother, which have been quoted widely. They've gone viral. Listen to what she says. and listen to what she says concerning what the work of her son is, yeah, who is working for, etc., etc. And everything will fall into place. Of course, there is the possibility that Mackenzie's mother is old. You know, when you get old, your brain slips up a little. Yeah, you don't understand many things. However, put all the pieces of this jigsaw puzzle together and tell me what conclusion you come to. To my fellow Christians, based on what we are seeing so far, even before you pray, but you should pray and seek God and get an answer. Yeah. But even before that, to my fellow Christians, my strong advice, stop calling these people servants of God. These Shakahola people and New Life Ministry people, stop calling them servants of God. Okay? That will be a good start for you to try and understand what is really going on here. Now, in my latest weekly intelligence briefings number 107, I reveal even more evidence that there's much more to this, linked to politics, than meets the eye. Yeah, you can see the details on your screens about my very latest special offer. Don't miss this WIB. Don't. Because it will open your eyes. You will be able to start seeing what you're not supposed to see. But what is there in plain sight? Now remember, you can also take the short-term membership, only 3 months, for $8.88. 888 Kenya shillings. Yeah. And then you'll get all the back issues of my WIBs, including other WIBs that you must see, so that you understand our politicians a little better. Yeah, on both sides of the political divide, so that you know what is happening behind the scenes when nobody's looking. Okay? Of course, except Almighty God. Okay? But some of this information leaks out, bits and pieces of it. Yeah? That's what the WIB is all about. Folks, please stay safe, be alert, and get ready for anything. Yeah, because I told you the season we're in. Yeah, the country called Kenya has entered its judgment. Oh God Almighty, have mercy. Until next time, this is Kshs, Kumekucha.